Before we get started, I'd like to invite each of you to put away your cell phones, close your laptops, and kind of look at each other, introduce yourself to your neighbor, and talk with me a little bit before I even begin. So here we are at the end of a long day. We've learned a lot. We've heard a lot. We've heard some opinions. We've heard some predictions. We've heard some worries. We've heard about some solutions. And now we're here at the end of the day. So you see that I am your closing keynote speaker, and I would like to hear what you would like to hear. I want to know what you're interested. What would be helpful for you finishing up the day, wrapping up the day, knowing that I am the CEO or executive director of a professional society. I am a member of my profession, mathematics, and I'm here to talk to you about all sorts of things. I was asked in particular, oh, I hit the wrong button. There we go. Let me try again. Okay. I was asked in particular to speak on this topic, and Darrell and some others worked a lot with me to think about ways in which I might craft the message this afternoon. But first, I want to pause and listen to a couple of you. What would you like to learn or hear about from me?
Hi, Matt Giampaolo from the American Geophysical Union. Taking off of that controversial discussion about conflict of interest, to my mind, it's really about what each person in the systems is incentivized to do. And I think as societies and publishers and institutions, universities, whatever, that everyone needs to think about what it is we want to incentivize. And as we talk about the future and young researchers, well, what do we want to incentivize in their behavior?
Anne, did I see you
Hi.
had your hand up?
Oh, sorry,
okay.
Catherine.
Where are you? I don't even see. Oh, there you are. Okay,
Sure?
got it.
Okay, Simon Bill from Wiley. Just a quick question on the AMS and probably a bit about your revenue streams and the fact that the journal is probably perhaps less important to you versus some of the other ways, and how you see the future developing for yourself in the context of the conversation we had this afternoon.
Just to frame the day, if you can, we started out with the conversation with a lot of market research from the ASME about the importance of engagement of the young researcher. And I know at AMS you've done a lot with creating programs that bring them in and give them the opportunity to have a voice. And so I'd just like to get your impression of the ASME's work and then your own response of your membership to these programs that can make a difference in engaging your membership, because at the end of the day, you just need to fill that funnel.
Thanks. Shelley Nettle with Elsevier. Just, and again, kind of going off the OA discussion, I work with many of our societies, and I just wanted your kind of feedback. What we get is a lot of, say, member surveys is that the journal is such an important part of a member benefit, really encouraging members to join societies or something to get. So as we see the world move to open access and we look for new opportunities for younger generations, what is that technology and what is that offering to the community that can really help drive membership back to societies, awareness of societies and what they bring to the community?
So what I'd like to hear from you is how is, the future, your revenue streams today is publishing, events, membership. 10 years from now, how does that change? And what are the new revenue streams do you see with the advent of technology and some of the new things that are happening around the world?
All right, I will get started. I made some notes. I will try to address all of these points in my presentation, and if I don't, you can remind me and ask again. And you're welcome to raise your hand at any point if you want to kind of chime in on something I'm saying. So let me give you a little bit of information about the American Mathematical Society. There are many, many mathematical professional societies out there, many that I didn't even know existed until I became the executive director and went to a meeting, a coalition with about 19 of these societies and said, who are you and what are you? What the American Mathematical Society is really the largest of these professional mathematical societies and probably the oldest. So we were established back in the 1880s, and our mission is to advance research and to create connections among these mathematicians. Okay, so a little bit of the details. We are a nonprofit professional mathematics society. We have about 30,000 members and around 200 staff members. Okay, our governance is all volunteer research mathematicians, most from academia, a few from industry and business. Our budget is about $32 million each year, and our revenue from publishing is $22 million. Okay, our revenue from our endowment is about $4.5 million. So where are we getting our money? We're getting our money from our publishing. Okay, that's where we're getting our money from, our subscriptions. Now I want to describe where it's coming from, a little bit more detailed, and I'll get to that. But first I want to talk a bit about our strategic priorities. Our strategic priorities include early career mathematicians. And that's why I was so pleased that this is the title and the theme of today's meeting. When I refer to big math, I'm talking about careers outside of academia. It stands for business, industry, and government. It would also be nonprofit, that kind of thing. So these are really our strategic priorities, and I'll talk a bit about the types of things that we do for early career mathematicians. When we think of early career mathematicians, we're thinking from students, from undergraduates, mostly through graduate school, the graduate students, and then the first, say, 5, 6, 7 years out past the PhD. That's our target group. Okay. We promote awareness by developing posters and things that we send out. We are on social media making noise when mathematicians are in the media and just try to kind of make everybody realize math is cool and everywhere. We fund programs. So on the left, you're seeing students who are participating. These are high school students who participate in a high school summer math camp. Okay, and we give grants to these math camps for high school kids. We also have website resources to help students who are undergraduates find graduate programs. At our conferences, we have big graduate school fairs and that sort of a thing to help. Whoops. We run graduate student chapters, and this is a really important new initiative for us, to have graduate student chapters. We're trying to grow our membership. Our membership numbers are declining. They have been for several years, and I think that's a common experience among most joining kinds of organizations. So we are trying to help snag them when they're young and help them understand and appreciate the role of a professional society in their lives. We offer a lot of fellowships and grants, and some of these are funded from external grants. So we get money from private foundations. We write grant proposals to the National Science Foundation and turn that money around as travel funds for mathematicians from other countries to come to the United States for conferences or research exchange opportunities, that sort of thing. And some are run by endowments. So we have an endowment for a research exchange program between the United States and China, for example. We do run meetings, and the conversations I've heard today, I've been kind of smiling as you talk about meetings as a revenue source. We underwrite our meetings. It's very important to our leadership that the meetings remain affordable for people to come. So we do not make any money on our meetings whatsoever. We lose money on our meetings. And any time that a frustrated executive director suggests to the board of trustees, we need to raise the registration fees, this is ridiculous, the leaders say, absolutely not. This is the kind of thing we do. This is what our endowment is supporting. This is what our publishing revenues are supporting, these meetings. So it's a very different kind of thing than what I've heard today. The largest meeting that we run is the joint math meetings. It's every January, and it attracts about 6,000 mathematicians, from undergraduates through graduate students to research mathematicians. We hold it in different cities in the United States, and it's really our big signature meeting, and it's called the Joint Mathematics Meetings because even though it's organized by the American Mathematical Society, it draws and partners with many of those other math societies. So the Association for Women in Mathematics holds its annual meeting, embeds it within our conference. The Association for Symbolic Logic embeds their meeting within our conference, those sorts of things. We also offer a lot of employment services, a website with 100% of the math jobs available in the United States are listed there on our site. We have an employment center at our January conference and some other things. We also invest a lot of money collecting data on the profession. This is a joint effort with some of the other mathematical societies, such as SIAM, which is the Applied Math Industrial Mathematics Organization, and ASA, the American Statistical Association. We collect data on our profession and make that all publicly available. This program is a National Science Foundation funded program that brings together groups of about 30 early career mathematicians. In the summer, they come together in the woods at a retreat center and spend a week doing mathematics and forming those collaborations that will hopefully continue on into the future. We give out lots of prizes and awards. We advocate for the profession with a small office here. So we have about just 3 people here in Washington, D.C. helping with advocacy for the profession. We're in the process of growing that group, but really our headquarters is in Providence, Rhode Island, where we have over 100 people working. And we also have about 80 people working in Ann Arbor on one of our major pieces of publication that I'll get to in just a minute. First, I just wanted to go over the kinds of things that we do to help support the members of our profession, in particular the early career. So what kind of publications do we have? Since I'm speaking to a bunch of publishing types people. We have blogs, we have website, we have books, journals, and Math Scinet. I'll tell you about each of these things. So for blogs, we run about 11 blogs on our website on a variety of topics. We are one of the few remaining independent medium-sized publishers out there. We publish about 100 new titles each year. And I have with me Eric Maki, who's our marketing person who markets those books for us. We also publish journals. We have 10 research journals and 2 member journals. Now, a member journal means that it goes free to all of our members, but it's also freely available on our website for anybody who wants it. Okay, for anybody who wants it. So the member journal value that I heard some of you mentioning earlier and kind of worrying a bit about, that it's the member journal that really is why people join. It's not the reason why people join our society, because they can get all that content available for free online. Why did they join our society? It's similar to the kinds of things that we heard Christopher talking about just now. It's the mission. It's the opportunity to be part of your professional society and help grow and push that society. So we really are very mission-driven in that way. Something that we're quite concerned about and I'm eager to try to get a handle on is the growth of the literature. This is the growth of the mathematics literature. It's growing at about 3.5–4% per year. It's growing like crazy. And one of the biggest pieces of things that we do is we publish Math Scinet. Now, what is that? So if you go to a library and you're a researcher and you look at the library's databases, if you're a medical researcher, you'd have PubMed, I think that's what it's called, and then there is chemical reviews or something. There's a chemistry database. Well, there's also a mathematics database, and that is an AMS product. So 80 of our employees live out in the Ann Arbor area, and they are in charge of creating this literature guide to the literature. Okay, this is a big part of our revenue stream that we don't feel is threatened by this open access stuff. So a big piece of our revenue stream that you saw is quite significant is coming from the subscription sales to libraries for MathSciNet, and it's a guide for to the literature, and it's reviewed by mathematicians. We have thousands of mathematicians worldwide who look at the published literature and then review it, and those reviews are available on MathSciNet so that you can go as a researcher and read the abstract of the paper, read a review by another mathematician to help you discern whether it's worth diving in and getting a copy of that paper. Okay, and this is a way to save researchers an awful lot of time. It's hard to read a math paper. It takes days and days. So this is to try to help you not have to read quite as many and get to the important ones, find the important ones. So we employ 18 PhD mathematicians to help us do that editorial work out in Ann Arbor. There's information there on 3 million articles and books. We have direct links to 2 million articles in over 1,800 journals. And the bibliographic listings go way back. And also the reference lists are there. So for every paper that's in there, the list of references from the paper is there, and it's all cross-linked and cross-referenced, so you can look at the reference list and click over and see, the review for that. It's really quite a robust, wonderful place, for citations and figuring things out. So it makes me less nervous because I really don't feel a big threat to this part of our revenue stream. We're quite involved with technology and publishing and creating kind of new things and inventing new things and supporting new initiatives. So you might have heard of LaTeX or TeX. We were quite involved in early days with adopting that as a typesetting language and ensuring that our staff was really very involved in the early stages of that. MathJax is something that started with the AMS, and that's a way of rendering math equations, technical math equations, on the web in a way that looks right and doesn't look all crooked and strange like equation editor in Word or something. And that's a product that we invested in along with SIAM, the Applied Math Society, and helped grow and develop that as a resource for us. And many of you publishers use MathJax, right? It's open access, it's available for everybody, so we don't charge anything for that. Could have been a revenue stream, but we decided to be altruistic. So what keeps me up at night? Sustaining membership keeps me up at night. We are seeing let's see, we're still declining, but the declining is at a slower rate. So the second derivative is good. Okay, so that's helping. And the way we've done that is by focusing on our early career mathematicians. That's where we're seeing the growth. Okay, and we're hoping that will continue and persist and help us. Concern about library budgets and how that might impact their ability to subscribe to our journals and MathSciNet is of concern to us. The impact of open access and how that might shift and affect our revenues. We're quite interested in succession planning, and it's very important at the AMS. We have many, many people who've worked there for not just years, decades, right? A woman just retired, Barbara Beaton, and she was there for 56 years. Okay, we have somebody else, Vicky's retiring, and I think she's been there 30, Vicky Ancona, I think a few of you might know her. She's retiring this month after 35 years, something like that. So I was very interested in those earlier talks this morning, thinking about the millennials and their expectations as they come into work for us. We expect that they're going to stay for 3 decades, but they're not going to stay for 3 decades. And trying to help change our mindset about that is really important. And so those are kind of the things that keep me up at night, and I wanted to shift a little bit and say a little bit more about open access and how that's impacting us. When it comes to mathematics as a discipline, it's unique in a couple of ways. First of all, only about a quarter of the published mathematics is funded. So only a quarter of the published mathematical articles are from authors who have funding. So to ask for APCs is tricky. Okay, it's not going to really work well in our society, in mathematics. Another thing about mathematics is that our journal half-lives are almost more like the humanities than they are the sciences. I mean, a typical half-life is, what, 2 to 4 years for a journal article? And in mathematics, it's more typically like 6 to 10 years, okay, is the half-life. So, mathematics that's true right now is going to be true in 30 years and in 300 years. So it's a different beast in the sense that it doesn't get old. And because of that, we're finding that at this point anyway, the people who publish in our journals, even though we offer open access versions of 2 of our journals with very low APC charge, $750, that's like dirt cheap. We're only finding 5 or 6 people a year are even choosing that because they don't mind waiting. And why is that? Because we have the archive. So the archive is for mathematics and physics, and it's a preprint server. And before any mathematician submits a paper to a journal, they throw it up on the archive for a couple of weeks and hear from our community, get feedback from our community about those results to help them polish their results and make sure that they're ready and confident to submit it to a journal. So everybody's already seen it, before it even goes to a journal. And then at the journal, it gets reviewed and gets stamped as like, yep, it's officially correct and good and right. And then it's an accepted paper. And people don't mind waiting for the embargo period. It's fine. It's not a rush. The only folks who might care would be the early career mathematicians. So we expected to see more of them saying, I'll use my startup funds, or I'll persuade my dean to pay the fee to get my article published first, earlier, get it open access earlier, and we're just not seeing that yet. Maybe that will come. And this is just some basics for you. So our current embargo period is 5 years. We do allow the authors to post their accepted pre-publication version on their own website or their university's repositories. They can go on archive, of course, no problem. We're chorus compliant. And as I mentioned already, our 2 gold open access journals are mirror journals, so technically Plan S doesn't like those, right? They share the same editorial committee as the main journal. And it's after being evaluated by that main editorial board and accepted that the author is asked, would you like to put it in the regular journal, but it's not going to come out for 18 months, or would you like to put it in the open access journal and we'll put it out today? And like I said, just a small handful of people are choosing that option anyway. So that's the end of my actual presentation. Let me just see if I've addressed some of these questions. You learned about our revenue streams. Open access is not, I'm not panicking about Plan S. I'm not. I'm just not panicking about it. I don't know. Yes, we're going to lose some revenues down the road, but we're having conversations with our board. We're educating them about Plan S and open access very formally. In fact, at our next board meeting, that will be our 2-hour after dinner discussion. Will be about this to try to educate everyone, because everybody, the idea of open is great, and then how it will actually impact the society, is something that they might not be thinking about. So we'll talk about that. So yes, I talked about engaging early career mathematicians. I mentioned that our member journals are free, so that's not a concern. Looking for new revenue streams, yes, we do need to find new revenue streams. Where might they be? Not from our conferences, because of the philosophy of the organization. We're not going to turn those into money makers. Maybe we can start getting some more people to sponsor our conferences, and that might bring in some money. But right now, we don't have any sponsors like that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. Where is that revenue going to come from? We have a very healthy endowment that endows a whole bunch of prizes. We're talking about creating an endowment for open access. But again, recognize that would take many years to come to fruition. So we'll see about that. Okay, so I think I've answered the questions that you brought up, but if I didn't, please ask again. And I'll go over to this other mic so that you can take this, Darrell, and we'll do some questions and discussion.